mean, I'm not gonna be able to be as free on the group chat.
No, I get
I'll
it.
talk, but it's a bunch of strangers and stuff. Like, who are you? Because they're just gonna be lurking. Mm-hmm. The thing about the group chat is the good thing about a group chat is everybody participating and bouncing ideas.
Yeah.
Not me throwing an idea to you and you just soaking it in.
You just taking it in. And
and just still just being there. It's like I don't even know what it's like.
Yeah,
Most of group chat discussions not gonna be anything like. It's all gonna be like fantasy football. It should be kind of what we're doing right now. We just drop.
But that's what I'm saying. Like I in a group chat, if it's not a community discussion, then it's more just like us doing a Reddit, if you will, or just like putting something in there and just letting people read it, which is not something I'm really too familiar with. So it's not gonna be natural for me. It's almost like how I would treat my Twitter. Well, I'll just throw a random thing in there once or twice and then keep it moving.
You basically, could you just do it to where you just basically do the exact same thing now, only like anything that like,
it's controversial.
You just leave out.
I can't separate the two. Because I don't see it as separate. It's like I'm talking to people, we're talking, and that's it.
Yeah, but you can still send out.
All I wanna do is put on. All I wanna do is put on.
Welcome to First and 15, the only podcast that's trying to get you paid. I'm here with two-time FFPC champion AB. Alongside him is Dio the Machine, our dynasty guru. Guys, I want to start off with talking about halftime. Half the season is over. I consider this the halftime episode. I want to start off with the AFC East. Buffalo Bills, they look great. Josh Allen. Let's talk about fantasy relevance there. Do you guys feel comfortable playing Beasley and Emmanuel Sanders, like given the up and down nature of that offense?
I think these are all players that you definitely want to have rostered. Just them being in such a high-powered offense and with the ease of their upcoming schedule. And, this is a team that, their offense is basically based off the pass. Like, it runs through the passing game and through Josh Allen. So when you have that, you can have multiple receivers and tight ends eat. So whether it's Knox, Sanders, Cole Beasley, and then obviously Stephon Diggs, I'm willing to roster all of these guys. But I think in terms of preference, Diggs is obviously at the top amongst that wide receiving group. I think Sanders has firmly established himself as a strong number 2 wide receiver. He was someone that we talked about in the preseason as potentially being, a late round sleeper, because really everywhere he's gone, he's always looked pretty damn good. Mm-hmm. Injuries have kind of, derailed some of his career, but he's always been able to bounce back from those injuries. And we've just heard nothing but positive drum beats throughout the offseason out of Buffalo. And, watching that Monday night game, again, anytime it's a primetime game, you really just kind of get to focus all your attention real time. And one thing that I saw was, if it was a crucial third down play or, in the red zone, Emmanuel Sanders is one of those guys that Josh Allen looks to. And so you love that. He has a lot of trust in him. So Emmanuel Sanders to me is almost an every week starter, especially when you're in a 2-flex type league or a 3-wide receiver league. So Cole Beasley is the one player that I think is more of a matchup play. We talked about it in the group chat about how he was going up against Tennessee Titans, who performed very poorly against slot wide receivers. So for us, and we also had this kind of positive regression factor coming in where he had quite a few games. And so I ended up playing him across the board. And that definitely, obviously, was very beneficial. So he's not an every week starter, but he's definitely that guy, especially for upcoming bye weeks or when you need a starter in a pinch or when you have a great matchup and you see him in the slot. I think he's a great player to go to. So
now, before the season started, we talked about not wanting to really touch that backfield because we didn't know if Singletary or Zach Moss was going to be the lead back there. Do you feel any more comfortable playing either one of those running backs week in, week out?
Nah, not really. I'm actually kind of just avoiding all of them now. Mm-hmm. That team looks like they just want to pass the ball. Yeah. You can look at this. Even this last game when they were in the goal line, they tried to run the ball with the quarterback. So it's almost the same offense as what they had last year, where we were kind of avoiding their running backs. There's been times Devin Singletary has looked good. I actually think this last game he actually looked good. Zach Moss, he's had a few games where he's looked good. The problem is they're just not getting the workload. You know, even for a backfield, even if it was one back getting majority of the work, it's still not a heavy enough workload to really feel comfortable putting him in your lineup. Of course, if you're in a pinch, you gotta do what you gotta do. But you know, when you get near the goal line, it's not one of those situations like, okay, I just hope I get in the red zone and they're gonna punch it in with my running back, because you can't even guarantee that. You can't guarantee they're gonna get the short passing work. Because they could throw it to Beasley or something like that, or Josh Allen. You know, if he kind of rolls out the pocket, he's just gonna be gone anyway. So,
and he's looking downfield most of the time. He's looking downfield in that intermediate zone.
So yeah, you don't really feel comfortable really starting any of the running backs. I don't know if that's ever gonna change either. They look like a team that's just trying to high octane, just throw, score as fast as they can, move down the field. So no.
And their OC has basically said as much. He said we're a passing team, and just looking at just NFL, you know, real life football, this was my issue with them last year as far as why I just felt like, you know, they weren't a Super Bowl contender. You have to be able to run the ball. You don't have to necessarily be balanced, but you have to be able to run the ball in pinches. And so when you're up 10 in the fourth quarter, you up 7, you need to be able to kind of run that clock. Or when you're in certain situations, you're at the goal line, 1 inch to go. You know, certain things you need to be able to run the ball, and they just have not either proven that they are willing to or that they can. And so that's something
I think they can, because there have been games where Monsters look good.
Yeah,
he's punched it in, and like I said, this last game, Singletary, the times when he got the ball, he looked good.
But I don't think they were in situations where you needed them to do it.
Right.
You know?
Right. And I don't really think that's a team that needs to do anything. They really have talent or weapons all over the field.
If you're looking to win a Super Bowl, at some point you're going to have to run. Ask Kansas City Chiefs.
But I think that comes into play more so when we get close to the playoff time. Colder weather.
Non-fantasy.
The game starts to slow down a little bit. It's all about possessions,
especially in Buffalo.
But just right now, you know, they're just scoring however way they feel like they want to score. Even look at this last game where they went for it on fourth down near the very end of the game. They didn't have to do that. If they really, really felt like they need to win that game, most likely they would have kicked the field goal and tried to extend the game.
I felt like that was a smart play. But yeah,
no, like, I mean,
and we said it. Look, we said it all. We said it. You know, preseason, like this is not really a backfield that we were interested in, and it's kind of proven. It's proven to be the point.
So let's talk about the Jets backfield, because I feel like when we're talking about the AFC East, I don't like any of those backfields. If I have to feel comfortable about one, it's New England with Damian Harris. But even now, he's kind of banged up. Let's talk about the Jets for a second. What the hell is going on with that backfield as well? I mean, do you guys feel comfortable playing any Jets, especially this week? I think they play the Patriots again.
I mean,
so
I think it's Michael Carter's time, and I think we've been seeing a trend towards that. You know, we talked about it in the pre-draft process that like these are not players that you want to reach on. These rookie running backs we know are likely going to need time, especially a rookie running back going into like a very bad situation. This offensive line has just gotten, went from bad to worse. I actually thought they were going to be much better, but no, they're just, they are really bad. Yeah. And the offense in general is just very, very stagnant, unimaginative. They're struggling, and it's anticipated. They're a young team. Rookie head coach, rookie OC. So some of this, maybe we should have foreseen. But I really do think Michael Carter is really going to take over the backfield. He's probably not gonna become a bell cow. He's not gonna get like 70 to 80% of the touches, but he should hopefully start taking over some of the valuable touches. We've seen him near, in the red zone, near the goal line. We've also seen Ty Johnson and Tevin Coleman there, but we've seen him take over that. We're seeing him getting the majority of the touches, and we know what he can do in the passing game. To kind of put it big picture perspective, I think when teams come off bye, it's a chance for head coaches, offensive coordinators, players to reevaluate what's been going on, to do sort of kind of a self-audit, a reassessment, and also to just sort of kind of decide, okay, where are we going now? The Jets know they're not a winning team. They know they're not a playoff caliber type team, but they want to try to get some, wins under their belt. They want to try to get some of the younger players more involved. So I think everything that we saw before the bye, I'm not saying throw it out, But when these teams come off buys, don't be surprised to see, things drastically change. And when we talk about San Francisco, I know a lot of people are down on Trey Sermon, and rightfully so. And I'm not starting him, but I would not be surprised if we see him come out of the bye and start to get more work now that they've kind of had a chance to sort of kind of, reassess and get back to basics and try and get guys who maybe they were higher on before, try and see if they can get them more established.
I'm out.
Yeah,
All
count
of
me out.
All of them, because I don't think Michael Carter's taking over that backfield. I think he looks the best, maybe. He probably will get more work, maybe. But even the last game, they just came off. I mean, they're coming off a bye this week. But the last game, Ty Johnson was getting red zone work, and Tevin Coleman was getting red zone work. So we can't even say he's going to be the red zone running back. All of them are still getting work, like literally all of them. And I feel like every game this season has kind of just been, one guy led the backfield and another guy led the backfield. Excuse me. And another guy led the backfield. I don't know if that's really going to change because he's still a rookie. He's still young. He still probably has to work on pass protection. And you have a rookie quarterback back there who you have to protect. And again, they weren't giving him the red zone work going into the bye. Of course, maybe through the bye week, they probably worked on things. But that's assuming at this point. We haven't seen it yet.
It's a pedigree play. So it's one of those things where, again, we got, bye week Armageddon come, in week 7. So you may be forced to play some of these guys. But he's a guy that, when I say, I'm holding, I'm not dropping him.
Yeah, definitely hold. Out of all of them, he's the one I would hold.
Yeah. Him and Jamison Crowder.
I'm not ready to play him yet.
Well, that's going to take me to my next question, though. If you have to play one Jets receiver.
Corey Davis.
It's
probably stop hating on Corey Davis.
It's probably Corey Davis.
Y'all stop hating on Corey Davis.
But I told y'all he wasn't good.
But he's getting. Where's
bad.
Where's Corey Davis ranked? I wish I knew where he was ranked.
Let's see where he's ranked.
Because I'm sure he ain't like too low. I'm sure. I mean, this is not saying much, but I'm sure he's top 30. So he's wide receiver 2.
I don't know if he's
wide receiver 2. Y'all don't think he's wide receiver 2?
He's a wide receiver 3. I mean, if you in terms of just like ranking, he's a wide receiver 3. Wide receiver 3. You definitely don't cut Corey Davis, and he's definitely a bye week play. And,
I like because I think Zach Wilson still has eyes for Corey Davis. Crowder last game, that was his first game back, right?
Yeah.
So I think he scored a touchdown.
Yeah, my issue is this: I don't think that Corey Davis is like that good. So you drafted a wide receiver in the first round. At some point, you got to imagine that they're going to try to start.
They didn't draft they drafted him in the second.
Oh, well, early second. Sorry,
early second.
Yeah, very early second. Elijah Moore. So you got to assume that they're going to try to get him more involved.
But with Elijah Moore, I think he's the replacement for Crowder. Don't forget during the offseason they had that contract issue where Crowder wasn't even going to probably come back.
I don't necessarily know that Elijah Moore is a slot receiver. I think he's, I think he would play like opposite Corey Davis and then continue to have Crowder in the slot. But again, who knows? I really don't want to play anybody in this offense. Sorry, why are we spending this much time on the Jets?
Corey Davis, receiver 49, by the way.
But he did have a bye.
He had a bye week too, though.
He did have a bye, so we're going to shoot him some bell.
Still 49. You mean damn near wide receiver 50.
Yeah.
I'm joking. He's been, for where he was drafted, at least early on, he's been serviceable.
He's had maybe about 3 good games.
Yeah. You can't.
You're
not losing because you drafted Corey Davis.
Right.
Yeah, he's probably helped you out quite a bit.
Actually, Jalen Waddle helped me out quite a bit last week. Let's talk about Miami. Two is back. I feel a little better about playing Waddle. Do you guys feel comfortable about playing Waddle, playing any of those receivers?
No. If you can sell Waddle, sell him right now. Devontae Parker was out. Will Fuller's out. Mm-hmm. You got to assume that these guys are coming back. Now, the one caveat to this is obviously, we're recording this on Wednesday night, so we just got the Watson news. We don't know if Watson's going to play. We don't know if he's going to get traded, et cetera, et cetera. But, if that trade goes down, Watson may not even be able to play, and you may be looking at Brissett the entire time. Or Watson may be able to play, and then maybe his value goes up. But I definitely think that was like probably one of Waddle's best games of the year. He also went against a very, very bad team. So when I watch Waddle play, and I'm not saying that Waddle is not a good player. I just don't. He doesn't look like a first-round wide receiver to me, and I also don't like how they're using him. I know he had a very good game, and it sounds like I'm nitpicking, but watching that game, to me, and how they've used him throughout the year, a lot of kind of low A-dot near the line of scrimmage. They set like a lot of these pick plays for him, and I get it. You want to try to get him in space and things of that nature, but it just doesn't seem like it's gonna like work against your average to above average defenses. So I think in the right spot, like when literally everybody is out and you're playing against a bad defense, great play. I think you were fortunate to get those 2 TDs out of them. And their defense obviously was missing some guys in their defensive backfield and throughout that defense, so they weren't playing as well. So it was almost a shootout to some degree. But my advice would be, like, if you can sell high, sell high. Obviously, he's not a drop. I think he's maybe wide receiver 3, wide receiver 4 territory. But I think you probably maybe saw his best game of the year.
I like him though. I do. I like Waddle. I would actually keep him. I actually like what I saw this last game. He does have a low ADOT. It's almost Jarvis Landry-like. It's kind of where I envision him, but with more talent, more speed, with more quickness. Now, you mentioned those players that are gone. Will Fuller, we're Texans. We're Texans fans. We watch the Texans. Will Fuller is one of those players that you just have a hard time trusting to just stay on the field.
Right.
Like, point blank. Even when he eventually comes back, he can go out and I think when he came back this season, he went out in that game, the first game he was back. So it's really hard to really just depend on him. When Parker does eventually get back, and I think he's back this week, I would assume, total assumption, but I would assume the opposing team will look to put their main cornerback on Parker, right? He would be their main threat as far as the receivers for the Dolphins. So I don't see Waddle really having to go against top end.
I don't think it's a top end issue. I think he's running out of the slot most of the time anyway.
Right.
What I'm saying is that like the play they ran near the goal line, the pick play to get him into the end zone. I just don't see that happen.
Right.
But a lot of these,
But the thing about it is, they gave him a lot of targets. They got like 11 or 12 targets this game.
They did.
And
what happened the game before?
I'm not sure what happened that game.
He did not. Yeah, I think he. I don't.
But that's also, we can also say, okay. So here's one thing we have to take into account, and we kind of buried the lead a little bit because I want to get to this player in a second. But let's not forget that the quarterback switched between the last 2 games. So what we saw with Brissett, we can't just take that and say, okay, this is what we should superimpose on what we're seeing with Tua.
True.
It's almost like with Tua back, the offense now has changed to one way or another. And again, it felt like Tua had eyes on Waddle. Keep in mind, they are college teammates. That's actually the player I was going to bring up next. Okay,
but Tua also didn't look all that great.
And that's another thing I was going to say.
He really did not look that great.
I think the bigger issue,
the offense was better
Tua
statistically.
Yeah,
but he honestly, I did
and
not
y'all
think
saw
he
what I
looked
put
that
on
great.
Twitter. I was like, man, Dolphins, just let go of those draft picks and send them to the Texans, man. Because Tua doesn't seem like
don't bring him to the Texans.
Tua doesn't seem like I don't want Tua. I'm just saying to get a replacement for Tua because Tua doesn't seem like the answer. He didn't look good. There was one play I remember he was scrambling and he just kind of lofted it over a guy, and his guy was wide open. He threw it way past him.
Yeah.
And at that point, I realized, okay, he's just not the guy for them to succeed. I feel like if they had a better quarterback, and you never know, Tua might improve. It was his first game back. I even think he wasn't 100% healthy.
Yeah. I don't want to put too much on him because for Tua to succeed in the NFL, he has to be accurate.
Yeah,
Watching him, he
used
just doesn't
to
have
be so accurate.
He doesn't have
the.
he doesn't. Maybe it's the injuries because he doesn't have that. He can't like drive the ball. He doesn't have the velocity on the ball. He doesn't have this huge arm, and he doesn't have the wheels and the legs where defenses are just so worried about him running. So he really needs to be accurate. It needs to be timing, and some of that may just be maybe just it takes a little bit of time for him to kind of get used to his wide receivers.
He's probably still getting acclimated. Not get that time. But again, going back to Gesicki, I made this comment I think on the last pod. Before Brissett took over, Gesicki wasn't getting much work at all. Gesicki was pretty much droppable, actually, at the moment. Immediately when Brissett came in, Gesicki became valuable. He was getting a lot of work. He was doing pretty well. He was even scoring like a touchdown or 2. My concern was when Tua returned, he would revert back to not being any kind of value.
I feel like last year last year I felt like he targeted Gesicki.
Yeah, but I'm not talking about last year. I'm talking about how he was this year. This year, after week 2, Gesicki was droppable. Like, if you go look at those numbers.
No, like I think some people did drop.
Yeah, no, people were dropping him. Yeah. But now, the way he looked this past game, Gesicki looked like one of the main targets. Now, it could be due to the injuries again. Yeah. You can't ignore that. But even so, when he got the work, he looked good. Like, he looked like a slot wide receiver. Good size for Tua. So, hopefully that continues. Because if that continues, Gesicki might have some very sneaky value, especially in a tight end premium format.
So I don't want to go too far, though. I don't want to leave Miami without talking about Myles Gaskins.
Yeah.
I mean, let's listen. Let's just address it. Do you trust him?
No.
So look, and what did I tell? So look.
No.
Wait, I don't trust him. Trust him. But we've talked about this.
No.
That the game where he sort of kind of went off against Tampa Bay.
He had 5 carries, I think.
But we talked about it. We talked about it as this being a potential Myles Gaskin game because if teams go in now and start game planning more based off of defense, which I think is happening more so this year than years past, as opposed to teams just saying we're just going to go in and run our offense, you can now start to kind of predict. And so again, when you're in a pinch and you need a starting running back, I looked at that game as, okay, there's no way they're going to be running Malcolm Brown into this Tampa Bay Bucs defense. So to me, I saw that as a Gaskins game. And definitely, you were fortunate to get the TD. You were fortunate to get some of those catches. A lot of that work was early on, but that was a Myles Gaskin game. And then immediately the next week, I sent it out in the group text again. I said, look, they're going against Jacksonville. Like, they don't, they're not going to be looking to just sort of kind of feed Myles Gaskins. Not only can they probably beat them on the ground with Malcolm Brown, and they maybe want to establish the run, but they can also beat them through the air. So to me, that was not a Myles Gaskins game where they were going to have problems getting it to their other skilled players or problems establishing it through the run. So I think the way you have to look at Myles Gaskins is as a matchup play. It's going to be very difficult to figure out what matchup to play him in. No. So ideally, you just don't start him. But if, for me, I think, I'm looking at him against, teams where they're probably going to have difficulty establishing the run, or teams where they're going to be, they're just in a lot of negative games.
Nah, man. Let me tell you why you can't trust Gaskin.
But the problem is, let me say this last one. The problem is really Salvin Ahmed.
That's exactly what I was about to say.
If he was out the door, it would be no issues.
That's
perfect.
exactly what I was about to say.
They were giving him way too much run.
Yes, that's the problem.
Yeah.
Ahmed is getting work just like Gaskin.
Yeah.
And might even look a little better.
No, he does not look better.
He might look a little better. He has more power to me than Gaskin.
I don't know about that, but okay.
That small, compact boy is strong for his size. Yeah. So you're looking at that.
Strong.
He's strong for his size.
Strong.
So you got you got Malcolm Brown, who's the biggest guy there, who we know they like. There was all that controversy as far as whether he's going to be the starter in the offseason, who is still getting work, who got work this last game. And then you have this Ahmed guy who people just totally ignore, but for some reason he's getting almost the same amount of work as Gaskin. Yeah. How can you ever trust Gaskin? Because even if it is a Gaskin type setup game, you can't be sure they're not going to give those touches to Ahmed.
Well, Gaskin is definitely going to be the 1A1.
How many carries did he get this last
Salvin Ahmed. It's not about carries for Gaskin. You don't start Gaskin thinking, I'm hoping this is the game he get 15 carries. That is not why you start Gaskin. You start Gaskin for the catches.
Okay, how many catches did he get this last game?
So look at touches. Again, I sent it in the group chat. I said, don't start. I was like, I'm not starting Myles Gaskin this game. I don't care if it's against Jacksonville. This is not the game for Myles Gaskin. So, it's a week-by-week proposition. But to answer your question, no, we don't feel comfortable starting.
Nah, man.
That's not what
9 rushing yards. No, man. Get out of here, dude.
Y'all ready to put on y'all capes? What did y'all bring y'all capes?
My capes?
Yeah. But
I'm going like a mere mortal today.
All right. Because I know that y'all want to throw him on right now for Mac Jones, and and the loss that he had.
Oh wow!
They got close. That pass looked Brady-esque. Mac Jones is terrible. Do you feel like you could start anybody?
He's a rookie.
He's terrible.
They
have bubble wrap.
Mac Jones to me is the best. He looks like the best rookie quarterback.
He's not. He's not.
He is the best.
Who's a better rookie quarterback in the league?
Quarterback right now.
The best rookie quarterback.
Who's playing the best? You can't even lie. Don't even lie.
Trevor Lawrence.
Don't put that on tape.
Trevor Lawrence. He really is the best quarterback.
Who's playing the best
quarterback? Trevor Lawrence.
No, sir.
Listen. They could throw me out there
those
to throw
Those aren't prescription glasses, are
they? Are prescription. Listen, they could throw me out there to throw little 2-yard screens and bubble screens. Like, they don't ask him to do much.
He's a rookie. They don't ask any rookies to do much.
No,
but
Jacksonville asked Trevor Lawrence to push the ball down the field.
Either way.
So you don't think Mac Jones is good?
I don't think he's good at all.
Okay.
At all.
Just know that's on tape.
Oh, it's on tape. Listen. I'll go to my grave with this.
But you also don't think Brady's that good.
No, I'm not saying Brady isn't good. I think Brady is still overrated.
You see?
As a thrower of the
That's his-
football.
that's
like,
his belief,
audience
man.
perspective.
That's his belief.
As a
Hey,
thrower
this is what
of
it
the
is.
football,
Just
he's
so y'all
not,
have a little perspective.
no, he's not the best thrower of the football that I've seen. I think he's good. I think he's great. Hall of Famer.
He's the GOAT of all GOATs.
He's not the GOAT of all GOATs.
He's at least the
not.
GOAT in NFL.
No, he's not. Jerry Rice.
If you don't get man, okay,
Jerry
let's
Rice
go,
is
can we
the
go to the next
greatest
team?
football
Let's just go to the next.
All right, so real quick, as far as
Nobody
Mac
comes
Jones, regardless of how
Yeah.
you feel about him, because these are all opinions.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying I'm wrong and I'm right and you're wrong, or vice versa. But I think he is good for what they're asking him to do in New England
For that offense,
He is commanding the team. He doesn't look like a rookie out there, regardless of what you're saying as far as what they're asking him to do. He's doing what they're asking him to do. And it's not a situation where at the end of the game we're thinking to ourselves, "Damn, when are they going to put the backup in, or when are they going to
should.
change something up as far as that team?"
They shouldn't have let Cam go. Listen, if they would have had Cam, they would be in the playoff hunt right now.
Yeah, I don't.
Let go of that Cam.
Yeah,
thing,
yeah.
man.
All right.
I am, but if they had Cam, they would be a much better team right now.
We could
doubt
disagree
it.
on
I
that
doubt
one.
it.
We could disagree on that
But
one.
anyway, regarding that backfield, okay, backfield is actually
Harris
to
is
me,
looking better.
He's looking better.
looking
Ramondre
good.
Stevens
Stevenson
is looking
looks
better.
pretty good.
I'm telling y'all right now, if Stevens is available on your waiver, he should not be. I don't care what league you're in. Put him on your squad right now, because if Harris goes down, Damian Harris goes down, you could be looking at, he wouldn't get 100% of the work, but you could be looking at a 3-down back in that offense. He looks really good in the passing game. Now, he struggles, obviously, in pass protection, but the way that they were targeting him out of the backfield, the way they had him run routes out of the backfield, basically, to me, he almost looked like Woodhead-esque, like almost like a Danny Woodhead coming out of, or a Rex Burkhead type, the way they were kind of using him. Now, he scored last game. I think that was mostly just because Damian Harris was a little fatigued.
No, he got hurt right before that.
Yeah, or
play.
he got hurt or something
And he
like
went out
that.
for
So,
a
but I think
couple
that's why
plays.
people are going to be on him. But I'm like, even if he does very little this game, to me, he has kind of entered that realm as a high priced handcuff. And I'm no longer seeing that backfield as like, oh, there's 4 or 5 mouths that need to be fed. I think it's Damian Harris, Ramondre Stevens, and then occasionally, Bolden will obviously get in there on some key third down when they need pass protection, or when they want him coming out. But I think Ramondre Stevens is someone that could be a league winner.
I mean,
in the right
I know that's
circumstances.
the flavor of the week.
Yeah.
Because of how he looked last week. But I do think Bolden is still an option there that they're going to use. And if Harris was to get hurt, I think they might consider activating J.J. Taylor. And J.J. Taylor, when he's had his opportunities, has looked pretty okay as well. I don't think Belichick is at the point where he'll say, okay, Stevenson, I trust you so much where I'm going to make you my main guy. Or even the
I think he will have no choice. I mean, he looks good.
No, but
he
that's
looked
what I'm
good
saying.
in between the tackles.
But that's
he
what I'm
looked
saying.
good catching the ball.
I think JJ, if Harris was to go there, because JJ Taylor has been inactive these last
For a
couple
reason.
games. Well, yeah, they
really
have
needed him.
they have other running backs there. But if Harris was out, like I said, if Harris has an injury, I don't think they'll have any hesitation to say, okay, J.J. Taylor,
they would definitely activate
come in
him.
and help us out a little bit. And again, Bolden, there was a stretch of 2-3 games where Bolden was the main target guy in the passing game.
Yeah,
I don't
that's
think they're
not
just
gonna
going to
last.
totally just
Pick up Ramondre Stevenson. Trust
I
me.
mean, pick him up.
No,
but-
pick him up. Pick him up.
But I'm
Pick
not
him up.
ready to just.
Pick
I'm
him
not
up.
all over him the way everybody else is all over him this week.
I'm not over. I'm not over him because of the touchdown. Number one, we all know that he's a good in between the tackles runner. Like on like a microscopic level, if you dissect the plays, he is a very good in between the tackles runner. Even that goal line carry where he just kind of got skinny through the hole and found there's a reason why some players just get stuck at the goal line over and over and over again, and why some guys like a Todd Gurley, as much as we hated last year, score a lot of touchdowns. There's certain nuances. So he's really good at that. But go back and watch his catches. Go back and watch his routes out of the backfield. watches. We know he's been a prospect that's been reported to have great hands. So, and they use him that way. Young player ascending, like pick him up. Trust me.
But Bolden does that same stuff though.
Bolden's old, man. Bolden was a necessity.
But look,
you can see his role decrease.
We can say he's old or whatever, but they use Bolden a lot.
They did use Bolden a lot. They are likely, if something were going to happen, I think it would go more towards Ramondre Stevenson.
Maybe.
Yeah, it's a bold play. You got to make bold decisions. This is a league-winning play.
Are you throwing puns out there now?
Was it a pun?
It's a bold. I don't
what did
know.
I say?
You said it's a bold play when we're talking about Bolden?
Nah, it's not. I wasn't going that way.
Oh, okay.
I wasn't going down that route.
Okay, I thought you were trying to be a little witty with your words.
All right, guys, let's move on to the NFC East. Listen, Dak is in a boot. Looks like he has some calf issues. Cause for concern. Cowboys look pretty good.
Yeah.
Cause for concern.
Yeah. So the good thing is that like Dak is on a bye, so you got to pick up a backup anyway. But just look a week or two ahead. When you're picking up players, think about okay, if Dak is out multiple weeks, is a guy that I'm picking up someone that I can start multiple weeks. Mm-hmm. So that's how I'm approaching that situation. But I don't think it's something that you can just guarantee where Dak is not going to be healthy. And that's a trickle-down effect. We saw it last year, okay? We saw it last year where Dak got hurt and that offense took a huge hit. Now, granted, O-line was a mess as well, but understand that, like, everyone's going to, take a step back as far as fantasy production. So keep an eye out on that. Again,
calf injury, right?
Calf injury came at a great time. He's a quarterback too, so that should help.
Yeah, it'll affect his mobility a little bit. The thing, man, and I've never really paid attention to calf injuries in the past, but these calf injuries I'm hearing about this year, they're tending to keep these players out a little bit. Now obviously they're not all the same, but it's not just garden variety, no big deal calf injury type thing where you just ignore it. Definitely have contingency plan in place. Don't be surprised if next week he's not practicing and then it ends up being like questionable game time decision type thing. Yeah. And I don't know if they're going to keep him out.
Stay ready. Stay ready.
Yeah, stay ready. I don't think they're going to keep him out, but it will definitely affect his play. And you never know. They might decide, let's be safe. They do have a pretty good lead in the NFC East.
Yeah, look at guys like Tua. Okay, he does his matchup. I think in Week 9 though is the Buffalo Bills.
You talking about when he plays for the
Week 8
Washington football team?
Tannehill. Obviously, he's got KC this week. I think he plays the Colts the following week. You could look at Carson Wentz. He's not been running a lot, but at least that'll kind of get you some bye week. I think Derek Carr is out Week 8. So there's not much there. So there's not going to be a lot available to you. And we've all been kind of waiting on Trey Lance, but it's looking like it's going to be Garoppolo for the foreseeable future.
Anyways,
so. So just have that in place right now. Like be ready with Dak just in case.
Speaking of not available, it seems like everybody who plays for the Giants is banged up of some sort. Kadarius Toney is banged up. We all know about Saquon. Even, Daniel Jones got knocked out of a game. Do you guys feel comfortable with, starting any of the Giants knowing that they're shuffling in and out of lineup?
Yes. Look, week in and week out, this offense is somebody's producing. Somebody's producing, okay? And the reason that I'm bringing this up is because preseason, when there's certain teams when people talked about is basically like, oh, this is going to be a shit show. This team is going to, this team is going to be terrible. They're going to be bottom of the league. Just ignore everybody, and players weren't getting drafted. Value comes from these teams, and the reason that I was talking about this team as a sleeper is because Daniel Jones has traits. All you need him to do is take that next step, and when he takes that next steps, he can make these fantasy players viable. We already know that the Saquon's there. We saw what Shepard was doing before Shepard got hurt. We saw Kadarius Toney get and put in work. Even Kenny Golladay, when Kenny Golladay is healthy and on the field, he's actually looked okay. We saw John Ross score a long TD. We saw Dante Pettis look decent against a tough Rams defense. Okay, so and this is the thing too about this. The Giants defense is not as good. They've had a lot of injuries, so they're nowhere near as good as what we kind of projected them out to be. So they're going to be behind in a lot of games. don't sleep on this offense moving forward. I think Kadarius Toney may be out, unfortunately, for a couple of weeks. That re-aggravation didn't look all that good. But there's going to be some fantasy options here. You shouldn't have cut Shepard at any point. Kenny Golladay, if he's on the waivers, I'd pick him up. I mean, he's kind of a bench and C type guy, but pick him up. And one of my I call them break glass type players is someone like a Darius Slayton. If I hear throughout the week that he's been practicing, and I don't want to hear that like he's limited and is not. If I hear throughout the week that he's been practicing, I'm telling you right now, I think he's going to be a very, very good play come Sunday, because everything that Dante Pettis got, you can only imagine that Darius Slayton can do, if not more. And he has that rapport. We've seen him do it with Daniel Jones before. And we've seen him do it earlier this season with Daniel Jones. Mm-hmm. So this is an offense and a team that you can like really attack when it comes to picking guys off of the waiver and having these bye week fill-ins.
No, I like Slayton too. I was actually going to say that's a guy I would target right now because people I think are sleeping on him. There was a game I think this season where he actually did pretty good before he got hurt. He does have that rapport. He's their deep threat. Out of everybody you've mentioned, I guess you can say John Ross is maybe a deep threat since he has that speed as well, but I think John Ross has been playing due to necessity.
Yeah,
I think Dante Pettis has been playing due to necessity. They're starting to get healthier. I think Golladay had a limited practice. Slayton, we thought maybe was going to play last week. They actually made him inactive. So you would think this week he obviously has a better chance of playing, and I expect him to play. Like you said, Shepard shouldn't have been dropped. Shepard, and I was saying this before the season started, Shepard, out of all the receivers, has the best rapport with Daniel Jones by far. And he was the one that people just were totally ignoring, totally disrespecting going into draft season. But going back to last year, Daniel Jones has an eye for Shepard. Unfortunately, he got hurt early in the season, so we really didn't get to really see it for a long amount of time. But he's back now. And I even think last week, now maybe it's partly due to the fact that Tony went out so early, because Tony was getting a lot of work early in that game before he went out. Yeah. But still, once Tony was out, Shepard was right back in that role as far as getting most of the work for Daniel Jones. So I agree with that. Shepard, if I was to rank them, I would put Tony at the top because he's the flashy, the explosive. He looks like the guy that can really break out a game. Mm-hmm. But as far as who I feel like has the rapport and who's the safest guy, it would be Shepard. And then I would put Tony. And then I would put Golladay, and then I would put Slayton.
Mm-hmm. What's going on with Evan Ingram, man? Like I expected him to have
He's droppable.
Yeah, I can't trust him anymore.
He's droppable. With everybody that's been out, like, and granted, obviously he was coming off of that preseason injury, but he was playing snaps, and he's just not. I just think Daniel Jones looks. This is why I like Daniel Jones. This is another reason why I've been, outside of all the weapons that you mentioned, when you watch him play, number one, he runs. Okay, my quarterback has to run. Okay. If you don't run, then, we got issues, okay? But he runs. But two, when he's dropping back in the pocket, he's not looking for checkdowns unless he absolutely has to. He's looking down the field for big chunk plays. And so I think the routes that they have Evan Ingram running are not downfield. They're not up the seam. They're very these shallow slants. These.
So you're saying the system doesn't work for him anymore?
No, it's Jason Garrett. That's the biggest
Jason
issue.
Garrett was providing looks for Witten quite a bit.
Yeah, but you never saw Witten running down the field. And when does it? I mean, I don't know. I watched Jason. I watched. I'm blanking on names.
What team?
Quarterback. We just talking about.
Daniel Jones?
Daniel Jones. I don't know why I had a...
You forgot Daniel. We literally talking about his team.
Senior moment, man. It's been a long day. It's been a long, long day. But I'm just saying, like, you watch him play, he's constantly looking down the field for that big play. Then he's coming down to that intermediate route, and that check down route is always last. Whereas you watch a guy like Jared Goff, sometimes he'll force it because he hears people talking, all you do is check it down, and so he'll force it down. But for the most part, like, when he gets into trouble, he's looking to check it down. Mm-hmm. That's not Daniel Jones.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the Washington football team for a second. So I had apologized in our last episode about shitting on Taylor Heineke. I want to take that back. I started him 2 weeks. He gave me 12 points and 14 points. Listen,
you hot, huh?
He's as bad. Yes. Oh no, he's dead to me. He's dead to me.
Guess what? He's going to score 20-plus points this week.
Look,
Well, not
let
on
me
my
tell you
team,
something.
'cause
Let me tell you something about football. Unfortunately, unless you're an elite quarterback, you're gonna have bad games. Yeah, it literally happens.
It is what it is.
It is what it is, and I'm sorry that you felt like he was gonna give you.
Tannehill.
What did Tannehill
You got to draft quarterbacks better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Place to play back on.
You got to draft quarterbacks better.
Keep my. I mean, this guy's still he's a backup quarterback. It's not like we're talking about a guy that was a starting quarterback going into the season. The thing about him is he has that. I don't want to say Brett Favre in him, but he has that gunslinger in him, and he runs. That's where his value has always been. You know what I'm saying? So he has that ceiling that you like in a quarterback. He's gonna have his down games.
But their issue to me was just that number one, the Antonio Gibson injury was very huge. They do a lot off play action, and that offense should run through the ground game. When you lose Antonio Gibson, that really throws. People think, okay, they can't run now; they got to throw all the time. To me, that actually hurts the passing game a lot, as far as because now defenses can just play for the pass, so it makes it harder for him to find open wide receivers down the field. And then two, I mean, their wide receiving core has just been banged up,
and their tight end,
and their tight end. So
their weapons are just,
and that's what we talked about it. We talked about why that was like probably maybe a dicey play because now you're relying on kind of a backup level quarterback with very limited options and banged up options at that.
So if Antonio Gibson goes out, do you guys feel comfortable putting in McKissick?
I think McKissick is the guy that you want to play.
Yeah, you want to play him
because he's going to get the most valuable touches.
The passing.
I made a bunch of speculative ads 2 weeks before on Patterson because it's going to be a wait and see. I don't feel comfortable starting Patterson right now, but if I think in the right type of game situation, you can see him get in between the tackles carries, and all I want to see is whether or not they decide to incorporate him just a tad bit in the passing game. You don't need a lot. You just need two or three passes or targets in the passing game. And then, again, he's probably not going to get all the goal line work, but if he gets some red zone action, to me, that becomes a viable RB2, RB3, flex-worthy play. But I'll keep him in the bench. But McKissick is definitely going to get work, especially because they're going to be playing, from behind. Like, they're playing Green Bay this week. McKissick should be in all-starting lineups.
See, that's my problem with Patterson. I don't think he's going to get much to pass work. To start off, I think he's going to be the running back 2. I don't think they're going to make him the running back 1 and then put McKissick as a third down back. I think they're going to start off with McKissick being the main back. So as far as Patterson's touches right now, I'm only seeing first and second down work, backup work at that. And this is a team that's most likely going to be, trailing most of these games going forward, So they're going to have to throw the ball more often. And I don't see Patterson having
I don't think they want
snaps.
I don't think they want McKissick in that role though. We
Right.
don't know.
They probably don't want,
but
but they used him this last game when Gibson went out. They actually were using him in those early downs at certain points.
Yeah.
Now maybe Patterson wasn't ready. Maybe that's what it was, and seniority was the thing. But obviously they don't feel like McKissick can't play those downs.
And I think they like Patterson too. The team.
Oh yeah, they
likes
definitely
Patterson,
like him.
so
I mean, he's
we'll
an undrafted rookie.
Yeah.
I mean, and they kept him on the team.
Yeah.
He's running back 3, so they definitely like him.
He's another guy that should be on benches. He's not a high priority, but like if you have the room, chop some of that dead weight and it's just wait and see approach because you just never know.
All right, so let's talk about Philly for a second because one of the big predictions that you had before the season started is that Ertz was going to be moved, Goddard would be the man at tight end, and that he was going to be like the tight.
Hold up.
Hey, listen.
That wasn't my prediction. Everybody was saying that though.
but you were valuing Goddard a lot higher than other people were valuing Goddard.
Yeah.
And you even reached, I think in our draft episode, you reached a little bit on Goddard because you believed in it that much.
Man, I'm all about lead with. Man, I don't want no damn. So the idea behind that was especially FFPC tight end premium. You're looking at like these league winning plays, and it's you got to be careful about speculating with trades because sometimes it's just like, I want this to happen, so okay, but just look at the overall team dynamic. Look where the team is going. Look at the player that are going to be involved in the trade. And, you just sort of kind of put that along a spectrum from highly unlikely to highly probable. And to me, he was closer towards that, more likely, highly probable side. It was never 100%, but it was something that was definitely within the cards. And there was obviously a lot of rumors out there. The biggest thing is we talked about it was, how much they seemed to like Tyree Jackson.
That's what I was going to talk about.
In the offseason. So to me, that was just an easy reason. But then he got hurt. So I think that they had, they almost felt a need to keep Ertz. And watch Ertz play, okay? Yes, he's good with his hands and maybe he's a serval, but he's not like his athleticism went out the door years ago.
A couple years ago.
And the issue too is like he doesn't really block either. So what is he offering you as a tight end player? Like he's gonna go to Arizona and he can be the Dan Arnold of whatever, but to me, like Goddard was a guy who could run routes, who's athletic, but who could also block. And they really like this Tyree kid who should be coming in too. So for me, like I looked at the situation like, okay, if we can get one tight end in this offense where they're a very limited pass, and I told y'all Rieger is terrible. Quez Watkins though looking okay, but still young player, and Devontae Smith good player, but still a very young player. So they're in need of someone to really kind of take some of these to not necessarily dominate targets, but to become somewhat of an alpha, a reliable target, a big body type receiver for Jalen Ertz to target in the pass game, and they're going to be down a lot.
Yeah, well, it might help if they had a running game, if they gave the ball to Miles Sanders. Dio, talk about Miles Sanders for a bit. Do you feel comfortable starting him, given how Stefanski has sometimes just went away from the running game? I mean, it got to the point to where the crowd was cheering whenever he got a carry.
Right. This week, I'm going to start him.
Yeah. And next week.
This week. Well,
and the week after.
Well, I'm saying this week because... Okay, so going into last week's game, was it Thursday Night Football? Was it against the Bucks? I don't remember who it was. But I don't think Stefanski felt like they were going to really feed Miles Sanders. But you saw a turn in that game where it's like the coach felt like, okay, let's actually get Miles going. And when they gave it to him, he looked great. He was getting bunches of yards every carry, over and over and over. And like you were saying, the crowd was chanting, run the ball or Miles Sanders or something. The crowd was like, egging them on, like, give the ball to the running back.
Yeah.
And he produced. So now that they saw how that looked, it definitely helped Hurts out a little bit as well as far as taking the pressure off of him to move the ball. I think they're going to go into this game saying, okay, let's try this more balanced approach. Now, with that being said, I look at this as an audition for Miles Sanders. If he does well, I see it going on pretty much throughout the rest of the season. If he bombs, then we might revert back to the Jalen Hurts show again. So I'm going to play him this week to kind of see who are the Eagles playing this week?
The Raiders. It's not the easiest matchup, but it shouldn't be like a hard and terrible matchup.
Yeah. So exactly. So it's a situation where he should be able to do something. But again, it doesn't really matter what he does, in my opinion. It's more about the type of work he gets.
Yeah.
If they're giving him a lot of work, then going forward, he's locked in my lineup. Now, I would not be surprised though if he just doesn't get the work like we hope for. And then if that happens, I just can't trust him anymore.
Yeah.
It's a wrap.
For me, it's always a week by week approach.
Right.
And what I try to do is I try to especially because we now have 6 weeks of data, I try to look at the games in advance. So we talked about this decision to start Miles Sanders, and I was like, just sit him this week. If he goes off, great. Now you feel more comfortable. Last week.
Okay.
Sit him against Tampa Bay. Why play him against the toughest matchup ever, for running backs in the NFL? Just sit him this week. We know he has the Raiders, a little bit of an easier matchup. And then
Did you play Miles last week?
I didn't play Miles last week.
Yeah, and then we got the Lions and we got the Chargers. Two very, very soft running matchups. So don't force it with him, okay? I mean, if you have to, you have to. But don't force it with him if you don't have to. So I'll look at this. The Raiders are no slouch on defense. We got to stop, get it out your mind that, people are just going to, pass and run all over the Raiders. They have a fairly good pass rush.
It's the pass rush that is
but their defense has been playing well, and then we've obviously had the change with the head coaches, and sometimes that just galvanizes the team. So we'll see what happens this week. But I feel comfortable starting Miles Sanders. If he doesn't play well, there's no way I'm sitting Miles Sanders against the Lions. Yeah. If you're going to sit Miles Sanders against the Detroit Lions, you need to trade him immediately or cut him, Like, if you're not going to play him then when are you going to play him? And he's getting the far majority of the work. This is not, people were worried about Gainwell, taking, maybe potentially, Gainwell's not taking over, okay? He'll be involved, but he's not taking over. This is Miles Sanders, this is his job. And kind of getting back to, the way he finished, I think a lot of that was just based off of the defense was expecting pass, so they were able to get a lot of draw plays and sometimes that's just easier. But still, take what you can get. He looked good on those runs, and he did what he was supposed to do, and they were very close to making that a real taking the lead in that game at some point if the defense would have been able to come up with the stop. So
if the stupid taunt penalty that the NFL implemented wasn't
that's such a stupid.
I guarantee they would have had a chance. I don't know if they would have pulled it up. They would have had a chance that stupid penalty wasn't called. But that's going on the soapbox right there, man.
All right, so let's move on to the AFC North. Yes, we're going to talk about Lamar.
We can talk about Lamar. That's the number one team in the NFL right now. Number one team in the AFC at least.
Historic game that he had. In which Dio said that
I'm not gonna say nothing about Lamar, man. I'm not gonna say nothing about Lamar. He's great for fantasy.
Great for fantasy and may lead them to a Super Bowl this season. But let's talk about Rashad Bateman coming back. What does that mean for Marquise Brown? Marquise Brown, to me, has been living up to where I drafted him earlier. Is he going to start to cut? Is Bateman going to cut into that?
If Marquise Brown gets hurt right now, doesn't score another fantasy point, you already won. Yeah. Given where you drafted him, I don't think that Bateman cuts into Marquise Brown because they play completely different roles. It's not like Bateman is taking off Marquise Brown or taking Marquise Brown off the field. To me, Bateman plays more of Sammy Watkins' role. They use Marquise Brown in a variety of different ways. They move him around the formation. They scheme him open. They even have red zone plays for him. So to me, it's not a situation where he's taking away a portion from Marquise Brown. He's going to be taking away a portion from other players. I think they played above their, not I won't say above their heads, but I think that Chargers game is just, is more of a, I won't say an outlier,
game.
Yeah, but it wasn't like they're that much better than the Chargers. So I think they're going to be in a lot more competitive games. Their defense, is kind of middle of the road. So they're not going to be in situations where they can just run the ball, but they also don't have a great running game, I think, anyway. I think their line is still somewhat suspect. They, had some major line injuries. They just lost Stanley. I think he got placed on IR. So they're not a team that's going to be able to run the ball. And Lamar had an off game, but that's because they scored 3 rushing touchdowns or however much it was. So it's just, you're going to have games like that. But Marquise Brown, to me, again, he's not a true alpha number one where he's going to get 10 to 13 targets a game. That's not what you're looking for. You're looking for him to capitalize off of those big plays, and then, like we talked about before, and plenty of times over and over again, they're also using him closer towards the line of scrimmage and some of the intermediate routes. So if we can get 5 to 6 catches a game with his big play ability, he's just someone that I put in the lineup. If he goes off, great. If he has a so-so game, I understand that. I'm not going to be playing this game trying to guess which week to start him, unless I just am loaded.
Speaking of not an alpha, it's clear that Tyson is not an alpha. It seems like they were moving to give him more work to Latavius. Now Freeman is in that backfield. They have Le'Veon Bell, but I don't think anybody thinks that Le'Veon Bell is going to be the starting running back of that offense.
Freeman.
So, Dio, are you on Freeman, or do you think that Murray keeps getting the work that he's been getting?
Okay, hold off. Let me go back to what Abby was just saying.
All right.
Are you trying to come at me?
No, I'm not going to come at you at all. I do think Bateman is going to be valuable in that offense. But as far as the question, as far as whether he's going to take away from Hollywood, I don't think that's the case. I do believe they play different roles for that offense. But I think it's a situation where, what's the saying, that the tide rises?
A rising tide lifts all boats.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a situation I think that offense as a whole is going to improve, because it's going to give Lamar this other weapon. Now, Lamar is really good for feeding Mark Andrews, right? Those seam routes, those little tight end. That's kind of similar places to where Bateman plays, but just a little bit further out.
You saw he had that one catch, and that was one of Lamar's INTs where it went off of Bateman's fingertips. It was going to be a nice gain. I think he maybe even had potential for some significant yak. And it was just one of those, plays where when his hands were just not in the right position.
Right.
Tip play, ball went in the air, defense enters. But You can see Lamar
he
was in the middle of the field in that intermediate zone.
I think he was second on the team in targets too. This first game back. We're talking about a rookie too. First NFL game ever. You know, so not only that, but they just I don't know if they activated him or they designated him to return from IR. But Nick Boyle is coming back. Nick Boyle is considered the best blocking tight end in the NFL. You know, for a good reason. So yeah, we mentioned they lost a few offensive linemen. But gaining him back, I think that's going to really help the running game. So now you got Bateman now that's going to help the passing game. Hollywood is still going to take the top off. And you know, never know. Hollywood doing that might benefit Bateman. And Bateman playing his role and people, because once Bateman shows what he can do, defenses are going to pay a little bit more attention to Bateman. And that's going to ease the pressure off of Hollywood to do what he does. It's going to help Mark Andrews. Lamar Jackson doesn't have to literally run now. I don't know if it's going to hinder Lamar Jackson's running a little bit because he's probably not going to have to run as much to scramble. You never know. Lamar Jackson, that's just in him, you know?
This is what I would say with that. You notice like when Lamar is running right now, defenses are 100% scheming, for him to run. You know, they're being very careful about how their edge rushers rush up the field. They try to contain them. Yeah. Their linebackers sort of kind of have a delayed blitz, and they never just sort of kind of just rush in and try.
They might even start spying him.
Oh, they definitely have spies, and so they play sort of kind of a contain. But like you said, if Bateman starts to take up, they can no longer do that because you watch these games, you know. Mark Andrews continues just to be wide open. And that's because these linebackers are staying so close to the line of scrimmage that middle of the field, that intermediate zone is so wide open.
So think about it. Now you put Bateman there too. So again, whatever they're saying, the tide rises all. I feel like that's going
rising tide lifts all.
I feel like that's going to play into this here. Now, going to what you were just asking me as far as Tyson. Personally, I think Tyson, whenever I've seen him run, looks like the best pure runner on that team. Latavius, I think he's a safer runner. He's the one they depend on. He's probably the better pass protector. But, you know, for some reason they don't want to trust Tyson. They're making him, they're deactivating him on games. They're playing Freeman, who now looks like he's going to be the main guy, who looked pretty good last week. And if you didn't put waiver claims on him, and if he's still out there, put a waiver claim in for Freeman because I feel like he'll definitely help you out. I don't think Murray's playing this week, by the way, so definitely take that into consideration. And then they signed Le'Veon Bell to the active roster, so he's no longer somebody they're gonna have to promote. You know,
scored a touchdown last week.
He just it was like one of those
he scored like a
jet sweep type touchdown, but he's still a weapon. And people still see Le'Veon Bell as a threat to some extent. So that whole offense might be one of those offenses where we're probably not giving them as much credit right now as we probably should, like how we give the Bucs credit and the Cardinals credit. So that, you know, they might be a great Super Bowl contender in that aspect. But as far as, again, the question as far as Tyson, I don't know what's going on there. I like his talent, but again, we always say it doesn't matter what we think, it's what the coaches think, and the coaches ain't feeling him right now.
Man, get as much Freeman as you can right now.
Yeah, get Freeman. Get Freeman.
To me, it's Freeman above D'Ernest, and it's easy. It's an easy decision for me. I do not I agree with Dale. I do not think Latavius is started. The reason I like Freeman is because he's getting their passing down work. And he's also getting tackle work, and you see him in the red zone, but he's their 2-minute guy as well. So if they're in a hurry up or they're in they're behind in games, he's going to be the one on the field. And you're starting to see more this year than you have in previous years. You're seeing Lamar willing to take that check down, and Devontae Freeman has done a great job of just sort of kind of finding space, finding that open, finding himself open, and allowing Lamar to find, to have an easy dump off, to have, to be able to, kind of find him out in the flat. So I really like Devontae Freeman.
Now, I'm not sure I'm ready to say Freeman over D'Ernest because I feel like they're two different situations. The value with D'Ernest is he's the only true runner they have right now on the active roster. I think they just promoted John Kelly, who's a guy from Tennessee, came to the league a couple years ago.
With the Rams.
With the Rams, he hasn't really played much in the league. They have the rookie Demetric Felton, but Demetric Felton, I don't think he's had any carries this season. I think all his work has been in the passing game. So, he's a running back by trade, but in reality, he's playing more like a wide receiver, a slot guy or a guy out the backfield. That might change this week. We'll see tomorrow. But as far as the person that has the monopoly on the backfield right now, it looks like it's Dearness with that offensive line who is banged up. You know, I don't want to discredit that.
And playing the Broncos.
But he still, if they get on the goal line, if they get on the 3-yard line, Case Keenum is not.
Man, y'all people keep sleeping on Case Keenum. I'm telling y'all now.
I'm sleeping
Keenum,
on
He has history in this offense.
Listen.
Legend.
Go back and watch Case Keenum in Minnesota. He has history in his offense.
But what I'm saying is,
watch Case. I'm telling you right now, Case Keenum gonna come out.
We're not on the Browns yet. We're not on the Browns. All I'm saying is, when they get at the goal line, when they run the ball, I see it as being Dearness. The Ravens, they might give it to Freeman, but if they give it to Bell, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
If they give it, because I'm sure they're going to activate. If Murray is inactive this week, I'm sure Tyson is going to be activated.
Yeah.
So if they give it to Tyson at the goal line, I'm not surprised. Yeah. The benefit with Freeman, number one, he looked good, and number two, he's going to get that. He's going to get passing work. Yeah. But they might also get passing work to Bell.
Bell's they may give him one target, and they'll be like, nah.
They might. That's true. But if they did, it wouldn't be like a shock to me. Yeah. Because we've seen Bell be that in the past. Bell used to be one of the best running backs that could play wide receiver in the NFL. So I see the situation is different. I like both of them personally. He's saying Freeman over Dearness. I say get both of them.
Oh yeah, they're like neck and neck.
Yeah,
but I think most people are going after Dearness, and I'm kind of sneaking in and going after Freeman. But they're both like neck and neck.
Yeah, if you want both, you probably have to bid higher for Dearness. Yeah, bid low for Freeman. But at the end of the day, you get both of them. It doesn't matter how much you bid on them.
And let's talk about the Browns for a second because they're banged up as well.
University of Houston legend. Let's go. By the way, it's homecoming this week. What's up? Go Cougs. Let's go.
Cougs. Listen. Case Keenum is going to be starting at quarterback this week. I do not trust Case Keenum. They got Dearness.
I don't trust Case Keenum either.
No, I mean
it's a tough matchup.
I'll with Chris on this.
Does this mean that? And someone in the group chat said it. I can't remember who put it. I think it was you, Abby, who said, Odell through the moon.
I didn't say through the moon. I said
no. He did a spaceship.
I did
spaceship emoji.
Spaceship. Okay,
it was not a spaceship emoji. It was a stock up. It was only one stock up.
Oh, just one emoji.
It was only one stock up.
Okay, so it was like
let me kind of break this down. So
I actually agree with him on this a little bit.
Yeah. So this happens year in and year out. A quarterback gets injured, and then you have the backup quarterback who just kind of lights things up. And he'll light things up for good 4 or 5 games, and then he'll start playing right back down to like where his at. And that's what Case Keenum basically is. Number one, he has history in his offense, so he knows the playbook. Okay, he's a veteran, and we know the type of stats he put up at U of H. Yeah. Okay, if you don't know, go back and check the play.
That was a long time.
So go back. Okay, then go back and look at when he played with the Vikings. Okay, he played very well, and they do a good job of scheming players open. So the reason that I put sort of kind of the the up on OBJ is because we've seen Baker just have difficulty.
That's why I agree with you.
Yeah, I think he has difficulty in this offense just in general. I don't know what it is. I really can't put my finger on it, but I feel like this offense should be moving and operating a lot better.
I don't think Baker's it, man.
I don't think he's that good either. It's tough. It's a tough evaluation, but I think Case Keenum can come in and just run the coach's offense the way they want to run it. And that means play action pass, first read's not there, second read. But usually the first read goes to that alpha wide receiver. And that is OBJ. Yep. And most of these backups, they just find 1 or 2 guys to lock in on.
Yep,
they're not going to sit back here and go through progression reads, try and sit in the pocket and wait 5-6 seconds like Baker does, run around, turn his back to the defense. No, he's going to see something and he's going to be like, all right, that's it. Like,
and he's a vet.
And he's a vet.
He knows who his star wide receiver is.
He knows.
So here's a non-fantasy
OBJ.
Question. Here's a non-fantasy question.
Yeah.
If he lights it up with OBJ, do we have a quarterback controversy?
There was talk of quarterback controversies last year because of his history with Stefanski. I would not be surprised.
So,
oh man,
I would say no, not initially.
Yeah.
But if Baker comes back, Okay, so here's what's gonna happen. If Case lights it up and everybody sees it, and then Baker does eventually come, because they're gonna give him his job back.
Especially against
but then
the
if Baker busts, you know everybody's gonna be clamoring like, "Hey,
Oh man.
let's
And
get
you know it's a
Keenan back in
contract
there."
year.
It's a
for him,
contract
too.
year. That's
So,
the
and that's the
problem.
thing too, is like this is why it's hard for me because I feel like he is pressing out there. I feel like he knows that they have a pretty good defense. They have a great O line.
Yeah.
They have all these weapons. They have great running backs. Like so, if they don't succeed, it's like it's him. Like you can't look around and say, "Oh, our coach is not that good. Our coach won Coach of the Year.
Yeah.
He won Coach of the Year last year, right?
I don't know, maybe.
He should have if he didn't. It's not our O
think
line.
he
Our
did,
O line
actually.
is great. You
Yeah.
know, it's not our
Wasn't the
defense.
Chargers. No.
It was not the
No,
Chargers.
It was not the
Couldn't have been.
Chargers.
Couldn't have been. Yeah.
No Lynn slander on the
I know.
pod. but-
Y'all Anthony
Lynn
Lynn
was there. Like, I don't know
alone.
why. I forgot it was Lynn.
Yeah, we don't need to give him that much love.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think he's pressing quite a bit, and I think you can kind of see it in his play. So
Another
we'll see.
thing too, being that Case Keenum has been there in the locker room, hearing everybody ask Baker, "Why are you not throwing it to Odell over and over and
Yeah,
over?"
yeah.
So now that Case Keenum is in there, he's gonna know. Look, everybody's been saying this. This is what I'm gonna do.
Yep.
Look, OBJ like,
I know, hey,
Bruh.
I know. Hey, you want to be the starting quarterback of the Browns? I'm gonna be on that side of the field right there. I'm gonna run this route.
You wanna
Make
keep
sure I
your
get
job?
that ball.
Yeah.
So
All right, so let's talk about Pittsburgh. Listen, I don't know what in the hell is going on with Pittsburgh. It's just,
I love what they do with Najee.
oh yeah,
Keep feeding Najee. Hey,
Right.
you know I'm fine.
Hey,
with
we-
it.
see,
hey,
we was right on Najee.
Yeah,
We
Feed
was right on
Najee,
Najee.
feed Deontay, and I'm good. You know,
Can Najee
that's
last
all it
with this
is.
type of? Can Najee last with this
He's
kind
a
of work?
rookie, yes.
Can a rookie last?
Yes.
Getting this much work.
Let's find out.
Yes, we're gonna ride him to the wheels fall
right
off.
until the wheels fall off.
But this-
Show me.
but
here's-
that is a good question. The reason that's a
here's
good
the-
question is because you need to know who the backup is.
And that's my fantasy
yeah,
question.
and right now we don't know.
Right.
We
For the Steelers?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, McFarland's been hurt.
You've been high on McFarland for a
I
while.
have,
yeah.
and he's been hurt. And here's
You're
the
the
thing
reason.
with
You're the reason I
McFarland.
had 80% McFarland.
Here's the
at
thing
one point.
here's the thing with McFarland. I don't know when he got hurt.
Yeah.
I don't know what the injury is.
Yeah.
I just remember all of a sudden one day just seeing McFarland's going on IR. Like, what?
I think he is practicing now. They know they had a bye coming up, so they may be waiting up the bye.
they designated him for return, I think, 2 weeks ago.
I know, but maybe they just want to wait
They,
for the
they
bye.
have 21 days.
Yeah.
Which means if they don't activate him to the active roster in the next week or so,
They have to. They have nothing else. There's no way.
I hope so.
And again, kind of going back to like one of the reasons you were high on him is all the talk in the offseason about how they were using him.
yeah, they were
Because-
using both of them on the field at the same time.
The reason that I had rostered him so much is because I felt like he was going to have maybe a little bit of standalone value in terms of them trying to be creative in that offense. And
Right.
now with no Juju,
Yeah.
you know what? Cut this, okay? Because nobody's picking up McFarland this week, okay? So we can kind of wait a week, get
Yeah.
through this, by Mageddon, and then we'll pick him up week 8.
Right. No, don't cut it. I mean,
No, cut it. Cut it. No, cut it, seriously.
Listen, come on, man.
no, but
We have to give him some gems.
here's
Come on,
another
come
thing
on.
that
We gotta
benefits
get some gems.
McFarland, and
Yeah.
y'all kind of alluded to already. None of the other backups have looked good at all.
Oh, they're terrible.
Like nobody's taking hold of that backup position where it's like, okay, this
Yeah.
is their job. They've all looked like trash. Najee has pretty much done all the work. Now, give Najee credit. He hasn't looked like he's been like just having difficulty carrying that workload. He's actually looked fresh throughout the whole game.
Yeah.
Smile on his face.
He's a smart runner too. He's
You
a
know?
smart runner. He looks like he does yoga. I don't know, but in terms
Where does that come from? No, look, it looks like he does yoga.
well, in terms of being flexible, like some running backs are just very.
You know what's
stiff.
crazy? And
They take a lot of hard contact.
Yeah.
They don't know how to sort of kind of like ease off the contact. So
It used to be ballet back in the day. Like, remember all the running backs used to
Yeah,
do ballet? Like
yeah.
Emmitt Smith talked about.
But it's
doing
not just
ballet.
about footwork. So when you watch the game, watch how a running back will like sort of kind of just either run into a defender or kind of put his head down and embrace contact. And then watch certain runners how they see the contact and they just sort of kind of slightly turn their body a little bit and kind of get in between defenders or sort of kind of take on the contact to where there's like minimal impact.
I saw
Those type
somebody.
of running backs do, I think, a lot better long term, and I feel like Najee's that type of running back.
I saw somebody mention it this week or maybe last week that he has a little bit of Le'Veon Bell in him. And I think I kind of
Yeah.
agree with that
Yeah,
as far
yeah.
as his style a little bit.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
he looks great. I'm glad we drafted him where we drafted him. I
Shoulda
was
got
concerned. Yeah, we should have got way more.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's going to last the whole season, but like you said, we're going to ride this till the wheels fall off.
But the McFarland one's an interesting pick. So McFarland and Pat Freiermuth, just given the Juju injury. Damn, why did I say that? Shit. Because he's gonna get dropped a lot. So he was actually someone that I was trying to add quite a bit this week.
People gotta make decisions with him because they're still using Ebron. Ebron, what did he get that running touchdown this past week?
He did, but they're using him in certain ways.
Yeah, they are, but he's still being used.
Yeah.
So Freiermuth
he's getting targets,
just totally taken hold of that job. So everybody's still gonna make they're gonna have their opinion on him.
Yeah, I think they're gonna use 2 tight ends, especially with the injury to Juju, with the O-line deficiency. And that O-line, like I said, they were at the bottom of the barrel before. They could only get better, and they've gotten they've been able to be
got a little
serviceable.
bit better.
But yeah, so I feel like they run a lot of 2 tight end sets. So to me, Freiermuth is just a guy who can get 4 to 5 targets, 4 to 5 targets a game. Get hopefully maybe even 4 to 5 receptions on a given week, and that's very helpful in the tight end premium.
What's going on with wide receiver 3 right now? Is it Ray McLeod or is it James Washington?
Combination, and you want none of them.
Okay.
You should have just drafted Deontay. I told y'all it was the easy.
Well, Deontay, and I think I put in the group chat this week. Deontay is like the super cheat code draft pick because his floor is just super high because Ben
he just
is
throws him the
locked
ball.
in on him.
And he should have had a 50-yard touchdown too.
Yeah. And it's kind of crazy his target share, but no.
So let's move on to the Bengals for a second. I want to talk about Joe. What?
Bengals.
What do you say?
Bengals.
Bengals? I've always said Bengals.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. He says his E's, his I's. It's okay. We know what you're talking about.
Bengals?
Okay.
Y'all say Bengals?
I mean, it's bingo. It wouldn't be Bengals.
The Bengals?
It's Bengals.
I gotta
just call them the Tigers.
Okay,
we'll be all right.
The Tigers.
Yeah.
So let's talk about Joe Mixon for a second. He looks to be banged up. Chris Evans kind of stepped in a little bit, got some work last week.
Did we talk about them last week with Samaji, or was that before that?
No, I don't think we did because Samaji.
Okay.
But
Samaji was the backup.
Samaji looked good.
Yeah.
Samaji looked good for that game where he was getting the majority of the workload.
Yeah. But then he got COVID, right? Because he got COVID,
he got
not like
COVID.
an injury.
I think he still has COVID.
Killed me, yeah.
I think he still has COVID.
Right. So how do you guys feel about, rostering Chris Evans knowing that he really only got burned because Samaji got the ball?
No, Chris Evans got work that game as well. He got passing work only though.
Very minimal.
Right.
I'm not rostering Chris Evans.
Man,
because
look.
the reason I'm not rostering Chris Evans because Mixon is currently healthy. You got to hope that Samadre is on COVID IR for X period of time.
Right.
I'm not going to roster the backup of a backup.
Right. I'm just rocking with Mixon.
Yeah.
But I'm saying in terms of
because one thing, Mixon obviously can get hurt at any time, but what I'm seeing from Mixon this year that we really didn't see last year is even when he's banged up, he's still trying to be out there and play, and he's staying. Look, I'm going to be active. So,
but if he gets hurt, he gets hurt.
Right. But you can say that about any player.
Yeah, that's why these guys. I'm trying to. We
can't roster every handcuff though, so you're gonna have to make a decision at some point. How much pass work did P. Ryan get that game?
He caught a passing touchdown. I think he had, maybe 3 or 4.
And a goal line touchdown too.
4 touchdowns. Yeah, he was.
Well, that was a game Mixon played too, right? Didn't Mixon have
we didn't get the true.
Yeah, it was. Mixon had a little bit of work, and P. Ryan ended up getting a lot of work.
Yeah,
but Mixon was active.
Right,
correct.
So it's really hard to really tell what it would be like if Mixon was truly inactive.
It would be mostly Samaje.
Yeah, it might, but they might play Chris Evans in the pass game. Chris Evans scored that touchdown. I think it was the first touchdown scored in the game.
Yeah, it was a long
touchdown. I don't
think
think
it was he almost played like a Felton role.
That was the last
That's
game.
what I'm saying.
Without Samaje.
Yeah. But he still was playing a lot, and Mixon was healthy. He looked pretty good.
So Samaje got in the Green Bay game where Mixon was a little bit banged up. He got 11 carries to Mixon's 10. And then Samaje also got 4 targets. And Evans got 2 targets.
Yeah.
So
but all 3 of them were active though.
Right.
So it really was almost not too different than what it regularly is like. I want to see what it's like when Mixon is inactive and it's just P. Ryan. And because this last game, it was only 2 of them active, and you saw how early Evans was getting that passing work. It's not like Mixon can do that. Mixon scored a passing touchdown as well.
Yeah, right,
but Evans got his passing touchdown early in the game, so they utilized him early. So I don't know what that offense is going to look like, but I really don't even care. I'm just hoping Mixon stays healthy because I have a lot of Mixon.
Yeah.
And he looked damn good this last game.
Yeah.
If I'm in a pinch, Should I consider rostering, or really, because I rostered him, should I consider starting Uzoma at tight end?
You got to be in a big pinch. Like somebody got to be like
I would do it.
pinching the shit out of you. I mean, like
No, I say it could be a light pinch, because he's in an offense where they're passing the ball a lot.
Right.
You know, so
I don't even think they're passing the ball that much. I think this is like a running offense.
no, but
Or at least it
they're
has
still
been throughout the
passing
year.
and.
I don't think they're passing all that much.
Besides those top 3 wide receivers, who was a pass catcher?
That's a problem. Is their pass volume and like their pace of play is just really like you watch this team and they just look like a traditional like a team where like the offense runs through the run game and they take big shot plays.
But I'm not talking about a tight end like a top 12 tight end. I'm talking. He just said a pinch. And again, I'm saying
I said a hard pinch.
I said a light pinch because he's giving you these last few weeks. He's giving you
Okay, let me throw out some names.
top.
Would you want Mo Alley Cox or Uzoma?
Ooh, that's a
Okay.
close one. That's a
How many
close one.
Would you want Dan
That's a close one.
Arnold or Dan Arnold or Uzoma?
Uzoma, yeah.
Okay. Would you want Gerald Everett or
Uzuma.
Yeah, nah, you lost me. Okay.
What did I mean, Disley's still getting work.
But
Disley, I think, scored a touchdown in the last game.
Everett was hurt before, and I think
I'm talking about this last game where they both were playing.
Everett had a pretty decent game.
He had an okay game, but Disley also scored a touchdown, and Uzuma also had a pretty good game. And Azuma's the only tight end they're using. They're not using Sample much.
Yeah, but Uzuma was, that was kind of an odd game. It was definitely kind of a back and forth type shootout, and Higgins was not in that game. I think at one point, Joe Mixon was, pretty banged up. So
Higgins didn't play this last game.
So what? No, he played this last game, but Uzoma just had a touchdown. He had a couple of targets this last game. It wasn't like he had like a lot of targets.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
Touchdowns are unpredictable to me though, so that's
yeah,
a tough
it
thing
is.
to
But he's still being utilized. He's not sharing that tight end workload with anybody else. Mm-hmm. The other guy, Gerald Everett, is sharing with Disley.
I don't necessarily know that he's sharing. I think he's kind of working his way back from injuries, and yet
who Everett?
Yeah, like Disley's getting some snaps.
He had COVID. He wasn't injured. He just had COVID.
Oh yeah, COVID. Okay.
Yeah, so it wasn't like a physical ailment.
Okay.
It was a sickness. True. I mean, again, this is splitting hairs. Yeah. Honestly, it's really just pick your poison type thing.
Yeah, that's true. Mm-hmm. They're all dart throws.
Yeah, they're all dart throws. These are not guys you really want to depend on. When your pinches, honestly, everybody you mentioned, I wouldn't mind playing.
Honestly, you just need to draft tight ends better.
Listen, that can't be.
Or you need to pick up Ricky Seals-Jones and not let him be on the damn waiver wire.
Yeah, we told you as soon as the low time is in, Ricky Seals-Jones Jr. You saw it in effect in that game. That's the thing is when these injuries happen, see what happens. See what player takes their spot. See how many snaps they get. Don't ignore the box score, but see how many snaps they get.
Listen,
that was a kickoff.
Y'all text all day.
Knox.
Listen, y'all text all day.
You gotta keep up, man.
But
you gotta keep up, man.
So many.
Gotta keep up,
man.
Gotta keep up.
I have a job, man.
Gotta keep up, bro.
Like sometimes I just scroll up. I was like, you know what? I'll just start.
Tell the people at your job, hold on one moment. I got to check. This is important. I'm playing.